Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Good morning and welcome to the show. It is December 2nd, 2016. Yep, the earth keeps spinning. Things keep moving forward, if not progressing. And here we are. Can you tell I'm a little down today? Jeez, a lot of bad news in my life. So let's start with something lighter. People getting killed while taking selfies. Part of me thinks this is, this classic sort of Darwinian thing. If you're so stupid to stand on the edge of a cliff to say, look, I'm standing on the edge of a cliff. And this happens apparently a lot globally. I'm glad to say we in the United States generally do not die while taking selfies. But people in India are dying at an extraordinary rate. Let's see, how many? Indians, this is because of some researchers, including somebody at CMU, decided to investigate selfie-related deaths. And I don't know why I'm chuckling. I mean, death in general is just not a good idea. But yeah. So they found that 127 people had died taking selfies in a year and a half period up to September of this year. So 127 people. The majority, more than half, took place in India. And coming in second, and right next door, we have Pakistan. So go figure. They don't know. Go figure. They're starting to think, well, maybe with India, because it has a dense population and a recent boom in smartphone access. But that doesn't explain it. Does it? Mostly people are dying because they're taking selfies at a tall situation with height. Cliffs, tall buildings, blah, 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 and they are falling off. The second biggest cause of death is I don't have this. The next one is water. Who knows? You're taking something with water and then you drown? I don't understand. The next one is trains. So you're taking why would you do that? Why would you stand on a train track and take a selfie? Would you do it knowing a train was approaching? Look at me, I'm on a train track. I don't understand it. And electricity is another one. Weapons. By the way, all the selfie deaths in the United States, I think all of them, were because people were taking a selfie and holding a weapon. That's us. Now, we can say, I don't know what's wrong with those Indians taking selfies and dying, but we do know what's wrong with us, Americans. Showing off hey, look, I just got this new gun. And I guess another instance, and I saw a report on this the other day, has to do with animals. So people standing right outside like a lion's cage. Look at me, right here with this lion, and the lion somehow gets them. drags them in. I don't know, but that has happened to a few people. So I just want to say, people are idiots. I mean, I don't know what else to say. People are fools. People don't think. There's actually a phenomenon called adventure photography, which figures into this, which has to do with taking a picture of yourself in a reckless, dangerous situation, hanging out of a cockpit of an airplane or something like that. And, fine. That's why I'm saying, let Darwinian principles take over at that point. If you're that much of an idiot, go. There's been enough concern about this that some countries have actually created no selfie zones in places where they know people have died. I bet the Grand Canyon will become a no selfie zone. Anybody died there yet? I mean, it's that kind of situation. But, proceed at your own risk, I would think would be the universal sign that should be available. The United States and Russia were the only two countries that had weapons-related selfie deaths. Also, men are much more likely to die by selfie than women. So the bizarre thing about this is that these researchers at CMU and another one in New Delhi are doing this because they want to create an app. They're developing an app that would warn smartphone users if the picture they're about to take could be dangerous. And you know what I say to that? I sure as hell hope that none of my taxpayer dollars are funding that research, okay? That's all I have to say. Jeez. People are that stupid. Oh, God. Okay, so before we get into anything here, another more lighthearted thing. I really want somebody to come to get to the bottom of this. Where is the media? Where are investigative reporters when you need them? And I'm talking about the apathy tagger. Because whoever that is, I'm going to assume it's a male, he is really getting crazy. Now, you'll note that I mentioned that I started to see these apathy tags, just in general places. One I saw every day because it's on my route when I come down here, and it tickled me at first. I thought, gee, this is funny, because apathy is all about not taking any action. Yeah, what's the point? So somebody is taking a lot of action, writing apathy all over the city of Pittsburgh. So whoever this is, I want to talk to them. Now, they have to be anonymous because they're breaking the law. So this is, but I'm totally into whoever you are. If you know I'm enjoying your work, I really, really am, unless, of course, you do it on my house. But I think it's a riot. And one of my friends is seeing a lot of them, and she said, she once asked, do you think this is brilliant or is it clueless? I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant, obviously. So the latest sighting, and this one blew my mind yesterday. I'll tell you exactly where it is. Mind-blowing. I got to take a picture of it. It's in, I suppose that's considered Oakland. It's where Oakland and Shadyside and bump into each other. At Center and Melwood. Okay. Center and Melwood. And there's a big old, for some reason, every time I pass that corner, it's on a building on a corner, at that corner. Every time I pass that intersection, which isn't often, I am taken back to a story I covered in the building across the street easily 33, 34 years ago. It was a fire. And I don't know why. I covered a lot of fires in my day. I don't know why that building fire seared itself into my memory. I don't remember it being a particularly horrific one, but it's odd. I cannot drive by there without saying, oh. And that doesn't happen to me when I go by a million other places where I covered stories, but for some reason that does. So this is across from the building that does that to me. Oh, fire. And on this building, it's an older building, old brick building, maybe about 6 stories tall, 5, 6 stories tall. And at the very top on the roof, there are 6 chimneys. And they're in a line, maybe about 10 feet separating each. So if you look up at the roof, you will see 6 brick chimneys. And now each one of those chimneys has a letter on it. So the chimneys now spell APATHY. That's the best one I've seen yet. That is the best one. So in order to do, this guy cannot in any way be apathetic. This guy is on a mission. So why aren't they even doing a story about it? It's too funny. And if and when he gets caught, I'm going to be a character witness for him. Because what he's doing, I think, is stimulating. I think it stimulates thought. It stimulates laughter. It stimulates admiration. They say Americans love outlaws. Well, this is my guy. Mr. Apathy, I am so into you. So, anyway, keep your eyes peeled. If you see anything better than that one on Melwood and Center, let me know. I got to start taking pictures. I do. All right, so I've wasted enough time, right? And you see how my survival skills are kicking in, and I've decided I will always start the show. Not always. I will try to start the show in a little bit of a lighter vein. I will also try to stop banging on this desk, which I seem to be doing a lot. I'm a very self-conscious person. It's a curse. I also left my diet drink in the car, and I'm beside myself. Okay, so where do we go from here? Did you remember when you took chemistry? Remember the periodic table? Do you remember how many elements were on that thing? Yeah. Well, it turns out that there are more now. And I don't know, this little news bit is out of Zurich, Switzerland, where I guess the poobahs and the grand inquisitors of the chemistry world have finally signed off and accepted, so now they're official, the latest additions to the periodic table. I guess what happens is scientists they're synthesizing new elements. Seems to me if you have to synthesize them, they shouldn't be elements. But that's just because I know that's a totally unscientific observation, but element, by its very nature, elementary means it's something that, right? It's elemental. It's if you have to synthesize something to reach, okay, so an element, I don't know. Obviously, there's a scientific, obviously you can synthesize and create new elements. So there are a bunch of new elements, and now there's, I don't know how many elements there are, but these are elements 113, 115, 117, and 118. And here are the names, just in case you want to know. Nihonium. Moscovium. Can bet that's a Russian synthesization. Tennessean. All right. And organism. I don't know. Orgasm. Looks like organism. So there you have it. And these elements were synthesized between the years 2002 and 2010, which shows that you don't get yourself on the periodic table quickly, right? This is an arduous process, and it is done by the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry. And they have they officially recognized these elements, I guess, a year ago. And now they're agreeing to their suggested names. And so that's how they can get finally, I guess, on the table. I don't know. Weird, huh? Okay. Milton wants to know, are these the tags you're referring to? He's got a picture for me. Apathy. Yeah. Those are some of them. Yeah. Oh, people are taking pictures. Look at that. These are some I haven't. Do they have the chimneys? No, they don't have the chimneys. Yeah, so apathy. Apathy. And where'd you find this? On Apathy Graffiti. How weird. And the guy who's putting all these pictures up is a guy named Bobby Charlie. Do you think he's the guy? No? Well, I got to get in touch with Bobby Charlie because maybe he knows who the guy is. He didn't put them all up, but clearly I'm not the only one who's going nuts and noticing this. Because that's great, Milt. Thank you. Yes, that's the ones. I love it. Okay. Floats my boat. I mean, a lot of them don't. I do look at them as just vandalism and destruction. But some are beautiful. Some are truly art. And this goes beyond art. This is interesting. We got a call. Hello.
Hey, Lynn, Sissy White Liberal here.
Oh my God. Hello.
Your apathy guy there reminds me, or apathy person. We don't know who it is.
Have you ever heard of a female tagger?
Not really, no.
Well.
But it reminds me of a bumper sticker I saw that was a favorite of mine a few years back. Asked me about my humility. Maybe it's just like really good ironic humor that this apathetic person's running around.
Right, it is. I mean, it's wonderful.
Yeah. But anyway, some election, eh?
Oh God, I'm trying not to focus constantly on it.
Well, I mean, it begs the question: when you lose to the worst candidate in U.S. history, who's the worst candidate at that point? and I'm not suggesting Hillary is a bad person or a bad candidate. I think she was treated as unfairly as a human being could be treated unfairly.
She was also piled on by a huge, by the whatever passes for the KGB now. I mean, she had some serious stuff coming at her from places that she didn't. I mean, he had a lot of people working on his behalf, taking her down. The internet trolling, all that stuff. And also, let us not forget that at this count, she's 2.5 million votes more than you say the worst candidate is. If we didn't have this absurd system, I mean, obviously she wins.
Yeah, no, that's
she won.
Part and parcel of it, I think, absolutely. But at some point, Right. One of the websites that I follow is Daily Kos. I think you probably do from time to time. And there was a headline on there today about the Kentucky quote-unquote morons who are going to be losing their health care.
Yeah.
And it's like, how, if you stop and think about it, a moron's vote is worth as much as a smart person's vote.
Yep.
You need to figure out a way to reach these people, and they've not done a very good job. The Democratic Party's played footsie with corporate America for the past 40 years, and maybe it's finally come back to haunt them to a certain degree. But there's also an incredible disconnect between communicating with people they need to communicate with, between a huge plurality, if not majority, of people who don't bother to vote ever, and getting them mobilized, and giving people a reason to show up to the polls. And like I said, Hillary Clinton might have been the next FDR for all I know. And in many ways, I think she's way smarter than her husband was. And I think she's way more compassionate. I mean, if you look at her overall body of work, I think she could have been a very good president. And I feel horrible for her.
And for us, because what do we? Yeah.
And not when I say us, I'm really talking about
the country,
children, but your kid. One thing that is, I think, really not debatable at this point. Our generation, the baby boomers, are the worst, slam dunk, worst generation in the history of the United States. We have squandered and not acknowledged the advantages that we've had because we lived in a very egalitarian and organized public society for 40 years and absolutely reaped the benefits of it while talking about it in terms of look what we did. And that comes into play to a certain degree. And I have a hard time, thinking otherwise.
I just want to say, you saw the party operation more up close and personal than most of us by having the courage to run for office yourself, and the party did not support you.
No, nor did they support a guy like Joe Sestak.
No, right. So this is what I just want to say, I do not. The only reason I'm a registered Democrat is to vote in Pittsburgh primaries. I have no allegiance whatsoever to the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, as you said, has become. It is as corporate. It serves its corporate masters. It is not as bad as the Republican Party, but that ain't saying much as far as I'm concerned.
Thinking low where that's concerned, right, to exceed that quality standard. I would absolutely agree. Think, again, Joe Sestak, their torpedoing of Joe Sestak may have led to this state getting carried by Donald Trump.
Might have.
There's no way you could reach another conclusion. And what that tells you is these folks, and I'm talking about Ed Rendell and his crowd, they're more worried about being in control than winning. And I mean winning for the sake of the people, not winning for its own sake.
No, I agree with you.
Me, that's where the Bill Clinton Democrats are. That's what they were all about.
I agree.
They were all for winning for their own sake, not winning for the sake of doing something good for the country at large.
No, I really agree with you. Here's what I read this really interesting article that one of the listeners sent me about why the white working class, or whoever these people are who voted Trump in, how they hate and disdain the professional class. The professional class, that means lawyers, doctors, people who tell them what to do, according to the article. They disdain these people. These are college-educated people, right, who they disdain because they figure that professional class orders them around, looks down their noses at them, and as far as they can tell, they don't really do or produce much of anything, most of them. And the Democrats are the party, to me, of the professional class, and they lost sight of the working people.
No doubt. And if you stop and think about it, the Bill Clinton Democrat that throws their hands up and says there's nothing we could do about free trade, there's nothing we could do about the loss of the jobs of the people that you just described, while at the same time establish professional regulations that insulate the people from foreign trade, from foreign competition, the professionals you just spoke of. So there is protectionism in this country, but it's a protectionism of the professional class.
Correct.
Those other little people, they're not worth worrying about.
That's correct.
That's a major mistake. And that's where, and the funny, the real, again, getting back to irony, and as Frank Drebin would say, irony can be pretty ironic, right? Those working class white folks, that they aspire better for their children because that's just the nature of being a parent.
Sure.
They want their kids to be a member of that professional class. They would love to be able to send their kids to college. But the United States of the 50s and 60s that you and I, no offense, you're just a teeny bit older than me, but I was only, 9 years old when the 1960s ended. But the 1960s were a decade where a working class person could reasonably assume that they would be able to afford to send their kids to college because it was adequately supported by public tax dollars in a way that meant you could send your kid easily to Pitt or Penn State or some other state school.
Correct.
That's not true of most. My wife and I make nearly $400,000 a year, and I got to tell you, we are stretched to the max when we are sending our kid to Georgetown University right now, and how much and I don't know how anybody can possibly afford to do it because we are milking every nickel out of our incomes to be able to keep that kid in school right now. Thank God for only 4 more payments rather. One more semester.
And you make over $400,000 a year?
That's right. Because that's how much it costs. It costs us about, when you throw in housing and everything else in Washington, D.C. to send our kids to Georgetown, you're looking about $75,000 cash a year. Okay? How does anybody, why wouldn't a working class person have disdain for people like me, like my wife, like my daughter at Georgetown, when they look and they see that's a lifestyle that they'll never see. They'll never have a chance to attain. You can't blame them. And we're not going to reach them by labeling them, like Daily Kos does, as morons. Because, quite frankly, for them, gay people, the LGBT community, those people exist in comic books. They don't know anybody like that. I mean, they probably do, but in their minds, they don't know anybody like that. That stuff doesn't affect their daily lives. What affects their daily lives is what their paycheck looks like, how they're able to afford food, housing, medical care, So
so they throw their lot in with a party that is going to take what little they have away from them.
With a deranged psychopath who knows nothing about government. I made a post on Facebook that I kind of hit rarely. Well, let's not call Trump a racist, right? Because the reason I say that is because he's a bigot. To call him a racist implies that he understands the mechanisms of bureaucratic machinery, that he can construe it in a way that hurts people of color, people of various ethnicities. He's not smart enough to do any of that stuff. He's just a flat-out bigot, for God's sake, if you ask me. The guy, if nothing else in the debate, showed he knew nothing of how government works, and it illustrated to me that it doesn't matter who the Republicans nominate because of the situation Democrats put themselves in. And the Democrats, the next time they nominate somebody, boy, that better be a pristine candidate. Either that or they better have a reckoning that rebonds them to this working class. They've clearly forgotten their roots, the Democrats, and I'm completely on the same page with you as far as the Democratic Party goes. I always tell people I'm not a Democrat, I'm a liberal.
Yeah.
And that isn't these folks, that's for sure.
All right, nice to hear from you.
Hey, take care, Lynn.
Bye. Jeez, making $400,000 a year, he's a liberal. Yeah, I'm sorry. By the way, Milt, you're right. That first picture on the apathy stuff is of my chimneys. My chimneys. The chimney building. Oh, gosh. Okay, and now back to another mystery that I'm seeing and reporting on. Little Tony wants to know, did I find any information on the barber school signs I talked about? No! I got no information on the barber school signs either. These are two huge mysteries of Pittsburgh. Gee, that sounds like a good book title. And no one's covering them. Dang it. Okay, we got a call. Hello there.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey.
You know, I think we're giving this working class people too much credit for this election. Let's not forget the gerrymandering that changed the districts. Let's not forget the voter purge. Let's not forget the voter suppression.
Yep.
All these things that was cheated because Donald Trump knew it was rigged, but it was rigged for him.
Right.
Kelly had that beaming look on her face because she knew she had it rigged, and she did it. And this is what happened. This working class, this is a flash in the pan. I don't know who's going to get in there next time because it depends. The incumbent in there usually gets back in 4 years. But this is not what they think it is. I don't think they lost the working class that much. It's just the cheating that went on before that, and the years that they took over the governors and the different positions in each state to line all this up. All the dominoes fell on us. You know what I mean?
I agree. I mean, that's an excellent point. Thank you.
And, another thing that bugs me about this, the unemployment's down to 4.6. So how far does it have to go down before these working class people say, oh, well, now what's going to happen is we might produce more jobs. We're not. They always say we're going to bring good paying jobs. That doesn't happen. That is a myth. I don't care what they say. You can't make these people pay wages. They don't even pay the stagnant wages. The people are not getting raises. Those people aren't getting raises. Well, you think they're going to bring in companies and pay you big money? They're going to do it the cheapest way they can. So that is a big lie that Donald Trump's, every day he goes out and says that. And it's just untrue.
You are correct.
I never saw a president create good-paying jobs. He may be able to do policies to create jobs, but that's it. Whether it's Walmart or wherever it's going to be, it's not good-paying jobs.
Well, invariably, because the so-called job creators, that's what they like to call themselves, only create crap jobs.
Right,
now.
And that's all you're going to get.
And they pocket the money left and right. Right. I agree with you completely.
And they've saturated the market with educated people, so they don't even have to pay them that well anymore.
No, they do not.
PhDs can't find jobs. MDs, I mean, master's degree. My son has one. Well, he works for Verizon, but he works for a union. That's the only reason he's
no.
Okay.
Well, let me tell you. I mean, my kid, half the young people I work with around here, they all have college degrees. They all are smart. They all are capable, and they are all working 1 or 2 jobs and barely making it, and there are no good jobs for all this talent we have. Not that pay. It's really something. So why would you go and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a college degree when all you're going to get is a job that barely pays you a living wage?
And the secret of this whole thing of good-paying jobs was something you know about in Wisconsin, unions. And without unions, the competition, if everybody's paying a little bit of wage, everybody's going to pay a little bit.
Sure, there's no reason to pay more.
If they pay a lot, then they'll pay more.
That's right.
But it's not there. If you don't have unions, you have no recourse.
No. Well, the thing is, people, I guess, have to just keep learning these same lessons over and over again.
I don't understand them, and I know the younger people say, I'll do it all on my own, and they'll take care of me. But when you get older, then they look at the younger ones, and you're shoved out the door. They don't understand that.
I know. Okay.
But I don't want to be all depressing.
No, I don't either.
But, I mean, I just think this is nonsense about this good-paying jobs.
I agree with you.
And they didn't really win those. 60,000 votes out of those 3 states, and Hillary would have been, or is 80,000. Should have been president.
That's right. In this whole country.
Big.
In this whole country, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, that's all it is.
It's amazing.
Yep.
Okay.
Real.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye. We Democrats just aren't living in the right places so we can get the Electoral College votes. I don't know. Chuck says, I heard you earlier that you have no allegiance to the Democratic Party, nor do I. And one reason for that is, once again, this week, the Democrats have put Nancy Pelosi into the minority leadership position in the House. I have great respect for her, but given the beating we just took, our focus must now be on the midterm elections, and I don't see her having the know-how nor energy to coordinate a retaking of the House. If you want to shake things up on the Democratic side, the same old Pelosi was not the answer. I agree, but there wasn't a good... The guy who was running against her was not some impressive character. I got news for you. No, the Democratic Party is also a party of old people. There's no youth in their leadership positions at all. They're ossified. And the caller mentioned that generally the person sitting in the White House does win re-election. So believe it or not, guys, given the fact that Trump could continue to stage manage his administration so that it looks to enough people like good stuff's happening, that he could win again, especially given the gerrymandering, the voter suppression, and all of that. Who the hell are the Democrats going to run in 4 years? You tell me. Who are they going to run? Huh? And don't say Elizabeth Warren. I'm sorry. Given what we now know about the electorate, we need someone, I don't know, throwing out some names. Cory Booker, Kirsten Gillibrand, is that how she pronounces it? She, by the way, is the only senator who has come out and said that she will not approve the nomination of Mad Dog Mattis for Secretary of Defense simply because she won't approve it because he will require a waiver from the Congress, because our law stipulates that a guy like him cannot, in fact, be the Secretary of Defense. The federal law stipulates that if you are a general, that you have got to be out of uniform for 7 years, minimum, before you can lead the Pentagon. Because our country, and one of the greatest things about it, is that it is the civilian that leads the military here, ultimately. The commander-in-chief, the president, and also they carry that down to the defense secretary. They don't want somebody in a uniform being the Secretary of Defense. So he needs a waiver to even get there. And she's the only one who said, I'm not giving him the waiver. There's a good reason for that. Not to have a recent guy who's been in the wars that are now, has been serving in the very wars that he will now supposedly be overseeing as the civilian in charge of the military. Wink, wink. Okay, so Gillibrand, I'm just saying, I don't know. Who we got? We got nobody. I'm going to stop saying we because I do not consider myself a Democrat. We got nobody. Got to stop saying we. The Democrats have nobody to run in 4 years. Nobody. And taking on a sitting president, even if it's Donald Trump, is never an easy job. So I've stopped thinking we're looking at 4 years. We're looking at 8 years because we got nothing else to throw at the voting public. So, by the way, speaking of General Mattis, might be an okay guy. I don't know. He seems like a piece of work, I'll tell you that. Have you seen some of the quotes from him? You can see why Trump would like this guy, because he's a straight talker. He ain't politically correct. So, and, I don't necessarily mind that either. Here are some quotes from him. This one, let's see. Los Angeles Times quoted him as saying in San Diego, in an appearance there, "Actually, it's a lot of fun to fight. It's a hell of a hoot. It's fun to shoot some people. I'll be right up front with you. I like brawling." That now is going to be our Secretary of Defense. Okay, here's another one. This one, Celine, you'll like this one better, actually. You go into Afghanistan. You got guys who slap women around for 5 years because they didn't wear a veil. Guys like that ain't got no manhood left anyway, so it's a hell of a lot of fun to shoot them. Do you like that better? He likes shooting guys who abuse women. I'm so confused. All right. Here's another one. Be polite, be professional, but have a plan to kill everybody you meet. Oh my God. That's from the San Diego Union Tribune. Here's another one. They must have done a big story on him because these all must come from the same article. Here's another one. I come in peace. I didn't bring artillery, but I'm pleading with you with tears in my eyes. If you fuck with me, I'll kill you all. Would Trump love that guy or what? I sort of do myself. Don't know. He doesn't have a television. He's never been married. He is a voracious reader. He's got a smart head. Here's another one of his quotes. The most important 6 inches on the battlefield is between your ears. Engage your brain before you engage your weapon. That's another one. I love this one, actually. And I think it would behoove Democrats to take this one in, because Democrats always win an election or something and go, oh, that's it, we did it, and then they go away. Republicans lose elections and they dig in, right? Keep fighting. And here's what our soon-to-be Secretary of Defense says. No war is over until the enemy says it's over. We may think it's over. We may declare it over. But in fact, the enemy gets a vote. Ain't that the truth? We won. It's sort of like the Civil War. The North thinks it won that war. No. I call it now the Civil Skirmish. The war has been fought ever since, and I don't know that the so-called North, the Union, is doing all that well. So there are some of the... here's one I wish somebody would embroider it and give it to Trump as a pillow and tell him that this is from the guy he loves so much, Mad Dog Mattis. Here it is. You cannot allow any of your people to avoid the brutal facts. If they start living in a dream world, it's going to be bad. Well, I think a lot of America is living in a dream world. And you know what? The general's right. It's going to be bad. Really. So, he's an interesting guy, actually. Here's another thing, the kind of thing that drives me crazy. Okay? Please tell me this has to be a typo, but then explain to me what it would be. This is from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, one of those little things where they, tell you two sentences about a story that, like, the BBC would take, 20 hours to get into. I mean, we just don't cover the world at all. But here it is. Voters in the tiny West African nation of Gambia cast marbles Thursday in an election widely expected to keep the country's ruler of more than 2 decades in power. Voters in Gambia cast marbles Thursday. I read that and I thought, is this some strange African kind of, you cast marbles, meaning you throw them somewhere and that decides who how do you get from no? So it's got to it has to be cast ballots. It has to be. They didn't cast marbles. Well, so it's not a typo. How do you get from ballots to marbles in the paper? Please tell me. And please tell me that voters don't vote in Gambia by casting marbles.
Maybe it's a turn of phrase.
It's a term?
Turn of phrase.
Turn of phrase? Nah. It's a friggin' big, another, like... It's like apathy, and it's like barber school. It's just another mystery. Gambian voters cast marbles. All right, good for them. Hello.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey.
Yeah, unlike you, I'm not resigned to 8 years of Trump because I don't think in 4 years. I think there's a solid chance in 4 years he won't be running for re-election. I think he's going to find the job isn't as much fun as standing in front of rallies while people cheer his name and shout, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up.
Well, what's to keep him from continuing to do that as president, as we saw yesterday? He'll have to have a lot of those kinds of moments. He's going to be like, he's going to be like El Duce. He's going to stand on the balcony of the White House and give rousing speeches to adoring hordes. Don't you think?
Oh, I think he'll do that, but there are two issues. First, you can't actually run the United States just by doing that.
Well, but he won't actually be running the United States, as you know.
I know that, but he has no plan for fulfilling any of his campaign promises. And you know as well as I do that what the Republicans are proposing is going to do nothing but wreck the economy for most Americans. And second, I don't believe even our pathetic media is going to be able to obfuscate the scandals that are going to be coming fast and furious. I don't think it'll. This man can avoid all sorts of enmeshments with his business, his personal life. Come on, he's headlines waiting to be written every day, every week.
I don't know. I'm starting to think that really that the rules just don't apply anymore. None of it, and I don't know. I do
admit there's a huge swath of Americans which we're now being told we have to strive to understand, whom I don't give a good damn about, because frankly, if someone is simply unwilling to exercise any thinking skills or even seek out the barest bit of information, I don't have to have any sympathy for them. I might have sympathy for their children when, for example, they vote for policies that are going to deny them health care or their unions, which are protected wages and working conditions. But I don't have to feel sympathy for them because they're not innocents in the process. I went ballistic yesterday when I was going a little back and forth on a particular political website, and I got into a little mini debate with a Trump supporter who asked me to back up my facts. So I did. I listed a bunch of links, like here, this, and this. Oh, and here's just why logically your arguments can't possibly be correct. And there was no refutation. He just posted, bullshit, you're wrong. And then I just went off and said, God effing damn it, you are everything that's wrong with this country.
Why are you wasting your time engaging people in this manner?
You're correct, yeah.
Well, I mean...
I understand the point. I can't do so anymore. But it just really set off my particular button that there's millions of people who, when confronted with anything that they don't like, simply reject it.
Yeah. Okay.
They simply aren't willing to even consider any information that contradicts what they've committed themselves to.
I know. But is that the same possibly for you too?
Look, every human being is mortal, fallible. Even the best minds in our history have come to wrong conclusions. That's absolutely true. And all human beings have a natural resistance to being shown to be incorrect. All right, but at some level, if you're presented with information that's showing that what you believe simply isn't true and can't be true, you owe it to yourself and to everyone else to reconsider.
Yeah, okay. Well, you know what? I hear you, but you're depressing
me. People in coal country who have convinced themselves that those jobs are going to be returning, I'm sorry, but I don't have any more empathy for you. Because you're just lost.
Right.
And you're voting in people who damage all of us, and they don't help you anyway.
I know, I hear you. I'm going to say goodbye.
I'll also say goodbye.
All right, bye. We can't take it. Guess what? Hey, Milton, what am I going to do without you, babe? Guess what? Gambians headed to the polls Thursday to cast their vote for the next president. Not with a ballot, but with marbles. They did cast marbles. Wait a minute. The country's electoral body praised this, saying it was more transparent, credible, and fair, and allows the country's illiterate citizens to vote. Our illiterate citizens just can vote too, but we don't use marbles. Our electoral commission is second to none, said Gambia's blah, 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 blah. No one can rig it. Might be true. The process was developed 60 years ago, and each registered voter is given a single marble, which they place in drums that serve as a ballot box. Each drum has a photo corresponding to a presidential candidate. Pretty simple. After the voting has ended, the drums are emptied and marbles are placed into special trays with 200 or 500 holes. This system enables counting officials to quickly see the number of votes cast in each drum. Yeah, I guess it would. The incumbent president has been in power for 22 years. Blah, blah, blah. So there it is. Well, that's incredible. Well, see, the president, by the way, seized power in a military coup, has been in power ever since. He has attracted heavy criticism in the past for claiming that he had created an herbal remedy for AIDS. He also once threatened to behead gay people. Yeah. Okay. Well, the Gambians voted with marbles. Okay. So I just want to say to the Post-Gazette, when you put something like that in there, a thoughtful thinking person like me is going to be befuddled. You could possibly have said, yes, marbles. You could have said so that when I read it, I didn't burst out laughing. Cast marbles in an election. Whoa! Thank you, Milt. Man, babe, you're really on it today. Thank you. So that's good to know, I guess. Margie saying it's a good show. Well, thank you, Margie. No. I don't know where that came from. Hey, Pittsburgh's own Michael Keaton made it on the front of the mansions section of the Wall Street Journal. And this is particularly ironic since our beloved Michael Keaton, there he is, is talking about the house he grew up in. And it was not a mansion. I hate this thing, mansion. I hate it. I hate it and I wonder what the people who read this will think reading what Michael Keaton has written. He wrote it here, what he said. The youngest of 7 kids, grew up in Robinson Township. We lived between McKee's Rocks, the steel mill town where my mother Leona was born, and Coriopolis, a railroad town where I was born. For a short period after I was born, we all lived in a small 1,500 square foot house. I can just see the people in Mansion reading it and going, you lived in 1,500 square feet with 7 children? Yeah, he would say. My parents converted the second-story attic into their bedroom. I slept in a crib in that room. My brothers and sisters were jammed into 2 little bedrooms downstairs. And he goes on. Can you imagine all the people reading in Mansion? How could you possibly exist in such a thing? What would you end up growing up to be? Michael Keaton? It's a kind of cute article. He very laudatory toward his hardworking dad. And then he talks about dropping out of Kent State, landing a job at WQED, floor managing the newsroom and the crew for Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And that's when Fred Rogers got to know this kid named Michael Douglas, because that was his real name. Michael Douglas. He said Fred Rogers was a good, genuine guy, and we became friends. He thought I was funny. I loved listening to Johnny Costa, the jazz pianist who played on the show. I worked at QED during the day, and at night I was in a local play. And next thing you know, he's in Hollywood. Michael Keaton grew up in 1,500 square feet of space with 8 other people. Why, isn't that amazing? That's a real hardship, I'm sure. Oh. So, have you seen how the Pakistanis put out a report about the phone call that Trump had with their president? It's mind-blowing to read. It's mind-blowing to read. Trump's conversation with Prime Minister Sharif. Here's some of the things the Pakistanis reported in a transcript of the phone call, because God knows you're not hearing anything from Trump. You're a terrific guy. I'm talking to you. I feel like I've known you for a long time. He then went on to describe Pakistanis as one of the most intelligent people. Yeah, I think your people are really smart. One of the most intelligent. And I'd love to come to your country. It's a fantastic country, fantastic place, fantastic people. This is your president doing diplomacy. So when that came out, diplomats around the world, it says right here, were slack-jawed. And a lot of them initially thought The Onion had put it out. They initially thought it was a parody. That's how bad things are. That's how bad things are. They thought it was a parody. It resulted in a former special representative to Afghanistan and Pakistan, Daniel Feldman, saying Trump has made himself not only a bull in a china shop, but a bull in a nuclear china shop. This is a country where knowing history and details matters, and where the U.S. cannot afford to give any wrong signals. Trump doesn't know any of that shit. By the way, when that transcript came out, the people in India went berserk. And also, by the way, this is a country, Pakistan, that President Obama in 8 years refused to step foot in because it would be considered unwise to suggest that Pakistan was doing a good job at anything these days. Trump, hey, you're a fantastic president, fantastic people. This is our president, folks. And I want to thank what I now understand is called the WWC, the white working class. Good job, guys. Oh, this is funny. Ansel just wrote me and said, just wondering if you saw the transcript from Trump's phone call with Pakistan's prime. Yes. Yeah. And then Ansel said, P.S., and this is perfect to end the show, Ansel. P.S., says Ansel, so much for fun Fridays. I tried, did I not? I tried. I tried with apathy. I tried with marbles. I tried with I forget what else. But I did try. It's all you depressing white male callers. All right. Listen, guys, have a great weekend and engage in some repression of thought and give yourself a break, okay, from all of this angst. I'm talking especially to our last caller who really sounds depressed. Don't. Just come on. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.